So coming from a biotech background, you know, your dad being a software developer, would you consider wine art?
I think it's both. I think that winemaking is equal parts science and art. And I think that some people come into it with a scientific perspective and some people come into it with an artistic perspective. For me, and this is, my dad and I did this as well.
Right.
For me, I come into it with a scientific framework and an analytical approach because that's how I approach everything. So an example of that is that I start blending. First of all, every stage of the winemaking process, my dad and I would always meet first with whomever our staff was at the time, you know, cellar interns and harvest interns. And we would start with, okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of what we have? What do we anticipate about the vintage? And what's our game plan?
Right.
What are our objectives? And then we can kind of back into how we do that. And so we start with that approach. And then when I start blending trials, I actually start with a spreadsheet, which is that I start with, here's my input and what's my output. So my input is the barrels that I have, how many do I have, what are the, you know, percentage first year oak, percentage second year oak, percentage blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So I start with an inventory of what we have, and then I create an output based on what excites me. What do I think will sell, and what would excite me?
Right.
And I start with some quantifiable targets, which are X number, you know, between X and Y, number of barrels of this, that. But then you start tasting, and that goes out the window because you really need to follow the art side of it.
Right.
So I would say I start with science and I deviate with art,
Right.
you know. But then I have a lot of winemaker friends who don't have that are more on the art side completely.
Right.